opportunity. That's like, is it?
I was interviewing my father about the way he wipes his ass.
Giant baby.
That tasted like a can of SpaghettiO sauce.
Yeah, like Chef Boyardee.
Yeah, like Chef Boyardee, exactly.
Yeah,
I wonder if I can find a way to like spray my semen on her face even when I'm not there.
Yeah, it's like a moral fucking dilemma.
It's an AIDS advertisement.
Oh, this is god awful.
Not the booze.
This is not amateur hour. Episode 148 of After Dinner Minutes. Nolan here.
It's been an eventful episode for me already. Jason over here.
I don't know what happened. You just like freaked out on the mic during the intro.
It's kind of time sensitive. It's just because the Phillies just went down again and are now losing to the Diamondbacks in Game 7, about to be knocked out of the World Series.
By how much?
Just one run, but they were up by. They were losing
how late
by
into
2.
the game?
5th inning.
Okay.
So, yeah. Anyway, then there's all this stuff happening where we didn't do a sound check until where the intro is happening, and then there's I just had the idea for the whole show 30 seconds before the show because we were researching some Taylor Swift videos on the internet.
Well, that's not exactly how that happened.
Well, I mean, okay, but that's
so I'll tell you how that happened. So we were driving back from my honeymoon.
The Taylor is there
No,
more to
no.
it? Okay.
Or maybe to it. And I put on, I was on like a real 90s kick. And let me tell you, just like totally unsolicited, YouTube Music kicks the shit out of every other fucking service.
Yeah.
It's like miles beyond Spotify or Apple Music or like it just.
I'm actually really curious why you would say that, because I've been a Spotify person forever.
It just is good. Well, I hate Spotify. I have Spotify because there are like 3 podcasts that I listen to that are just Spotify exclusives.
I know you have like issues, like technical and
Dude,
emotional
technical.
issues with like the Joe Rogan Spotify relationship or whatever.
Well, so here's the thing. We'll go into this. It's fine.
Then we have to circle back to Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Here's what it is I have there's a ton of technical fucking issues with Spotify. So for example, if I am listening to a show and I'm playing it through like a speaker at my house, or I'm streaming it to like if I'm in the basement working out because the gym's down there, there's a TV on the wall, and I'll stream like the podcast I'm listening to the TV on the wall, or I'll in the kitchen. There's speakers, there's a Sonos sound system all over the house, so I can stream podcasts to that. And without fail, if I stop listening to it there and then bring it to the car and start streaming it through the car, it starts the episode over as a new episode.
Like, is that doing it through the Spotify app, or through is it
Spotify
like a Mercedes-Benz
Spotify
app or something like? Okay,
Spotify app. And it's the same app used no matter what, because Sonos doesn't sync with Spotify either. It's you can stream Spotify to the Sonos, but you don't run like every other app that I have. You go into Sonos and then connect to the app. Spotify is the only one that does it in reverse. And then on a very regular basis, listening to Spotify, it will just mid-sentence, middle of the podcast, just stop and go to a different episode and play it from the beginning. Multiple times a week.
So I guess I could probably
it's a terrible fucking app.
I could go a long time without ever really noticing that, I guess, because I'm trying to think if that has impacted me, because I have kind of a similar setup in my house, but I find I don't often listen to podcasts, and it's usually music, which are 1, 2, 3, 4 minute little ditties,
and then it switches to something else anyway.
Yeah, so if I pause it and I go to someplace else, it's really not as it's not as noticeable.
Maybe it's
jarring.
Maybe it's a long form thing.
Yeah,
but
it might do that for me. I'm just saying I don't. It's it's not I'm halfway
you
through.
Wouldn't notice it
I'm
the
so
same
emotionally
way.
involved in this 3-minute Bad Religion song that I have to.
I would say that it's less common that I don't have issues with the app, and I have deleted I'm talking like multiple phones, multiple devices. I have like deleted the apps, downloaded new ones. I've like deleted accounts and started
Spotify,
new
you mean?
accounts. Yeah. It's a shitty app. It's just a shitty app.
Yeah, so like for me, I guess I used to like, I don't know if we've had this conversation before, but I used to use Google. Now it's evolved into what you're talking about now.
YouTube Music, yeah.
But it was Google Music, and back in the heyday where you could like, they allowed you to rip your own CDs,
Your
like
own
to
stuff
like
into
download,
Google Music,
to like convert your CD into like a digital format, and then upload it to their cloud.
Yep.
Which you could then listen to along with the 1 or 2 songs you might have paid for.
Yeah.
Which I did, and I had found. So you could essentially just go and borrow somebody's record
You
collection.
could essentially listen to your downloaded record collection anywhere.
Yeah, or somebody else's if you could just
Even
borrow
if
some
it
CDs from
wasn't
them.
something that was streaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, which, for someone like you or I who might listen to a lot of stuff that isn't commonly streamed, was great. And then they consolidated and it became YouTube Music.
Yeah. So around that time, I guess I just, for whatever reason, I went with Spotify, and now I feel like the thing that I love about it actually is just the algorithm. That like, I feel like the algorithm like does me some favors, and it's introduced me to like tons of artists. Really, like it's the only way I really find new music. And maybe it's just because I'm not trying other services. Like I'm sure there's other services that have similar algorithms that like that one that Jay-Z fucking sold.
A lot of people have told me that like Amazon Music is good, but like I have a hard time justifying giving. Honestly, I have a hard time justifying giving music to Google, which you're doing on YouTube anyway. But like,
yeah. I think there's 2 tiers of the like. I think that people default into the Amazon Music that has like 2 million songs, and then you have to pay to get like the other
stuff.
Yeah,
yeah. I would say the thing about YouTube Music that I like is the algorithm. Like if I go put on a song that I'm in the mood for, the next 50 songs that it just auto streams are on fucking point. Like. Same era, same genre, same it just fucking nails it. Anyway, we're driving and I'm like on this like early mid 90s kick, and Dishwalla comes on, so I like crank it, like I love this fucking song. And Allegra's like, oh, let me put this song on. And I was like, this is the same fucking song.
Oh, she put that on.
She
like,
put that on.
response?
That's how I discovered the song. And she's like, it sounds just like this. And she's like, I think, and she was kind of like, I think this band that you like ripped these guys off. I'm like, this song is 20 years fucking older than the song that you just put on.
These kids were like not even born yet.
Yeah, like this song was like my favorite song when I was a child and you were not born. Like, no, these guys did not fucking rip off this band that you know.
Yeah.
So then I played it for you, and now I can't remember where your thought process went.
Oh, so
and you agreed, and then
so we like then in turn we found I found that we had brought ourselves at least 10 or 15 minutes into a Taylor Swift or Taylor Swift adjacent rabbit hole, like looking at videos and debating whether or not it was in fact Taylor Swift that was in this Parachute Band's video who like basically stole this song. So I had commented that like we should go on to the Teen Bop forums, and that brings us full circle to my rollerblading scientist. Like I don't even know what to say. My the person that I for so long I held to the highest regard, and I like let all of my other like girlfriends after her know that this is like the standard they have to strive for. So yeah, like I think I had my whole thing like my head exploded from that. We actually we recorded this. This was like a thing that happened before, right?
yeah,
And then sadly we lost the whole thing. But
did.
Gratefully, I smoke pot, and my short-term memory is not
This
the best.
conversation is new to you again.
It kind of is. It kind of is.
So just for let me touch on this for a second. You're like, thankfully I smoke pot. So
Thank you, pot.
So on the way over here, we had a conversation in the car that I'm very glad happened, because there are so many, like, I never call you out on it, but there are so many instances where I talk about something and your mind connects like some, I wouldn't even call it adjacent. It's like some unrelated subject you anchor in to like what we're talking about. And then
It's
you will like continually reference it. And I'm just like, yeah, but I have no idea what you're talking about.
What can I say? I'm left-handed. I mean, I don't know, man.
So in this instance, somehow, some reason, we are talking about John Mayer.
Yeah.
And no less than 5 times you talk about how Jack Johnson ruined G-Love. And we're in the front of the car looking at each other going, how the fuck is this related?
Well, he did. He did. First of all, let's just state
I'm
that
not
fact.
debating that, but then Allegra's like, yeah, but John Mayer, blah 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 blah, just like redirecting, and you're like, oh yeah, but Jack Johnson, and she finally is like, what do they have to do with each other?
Well, for a minute, I thought she was questioning, like she was saying, no, he didn't ruin his career, and I was like, no, but he really did, though.
But she said someone else's name.
Well, I understand that, but at the time, I didn't like. That was the disconnect right there, right? But when she like so defiantly told me that, no, he didn't ruin his career, I was still under the misunderstanding we were talking about this new person already,
yeah,
and took offense to the whole.
There was
thing.
another conversation that we had semi recently. Where I referenced somebody and I compared them to someone else we both know. I'm not going to repeat the whole conversation,
Okay.
But I compared them and I was like, you know who they remind, because I was like bitching about this person. I was like, you know who they remind me of? I was like, their personality is just like this person that we both know. And for the entire rest of the conversation, when I was like, and then she said this to me, and you were like, wait, who? This person or the other person that you compared them to that I haven't spoken to in 20 years? And I'm like, we're not even talking about the other person. I haven't had a conversation with them. I've seen them at like 2 funerals in the past 20 years. And I don't know why you think I'm talking about them now. But you did. So I just like, it was an off podcast conversation because it was like too personal for it. But I was sitting there going, we're not talking about the same we're not having the same conversation right now.
I mean, I do smoke a lot of pot.
Like, we're both very active in this conversation and neither one of us is fucking making sense to the other person.
I was in a coma one time. Maybe that had something to do with it.
That's possible, I guess.
At some point, I think the doctor told my parents that I had like a 25% chance of not being a vegetable or something. And, you know, here I am, like mostly coherent, I guess.
There you go.
Unless we talk about people who like spark similar brain synapses for me, like totally unrelated Jack Johnson and John Mayer-esque brain synapses.
So your lesbian scientist girlfriend, let's get into it.
Yeah. So, okay.
Who was for a long time one of my closest friends.
Yes. So the first
probably
of all,
still would be if they didn't live very, very far away.
To explain the connection like that my brain had made, this individual that we're talking about, one of the last few times that we had communicated, this is going back a couple of years, she had signed me up for and started sending me hand-drawn zines, like in the vein of like Teen Bop, like
right,
like
so a zine for you youngsters,
yeah, like
is
really
a homemade DIY self-published magazine.
It's like a visual podcast.
Yeah,
right.
That's a great fucking way of putting it, actually.
Yeah. So hers was very ridiculous, and it was very cheeky, and it was like fabricating, like it would often just fabricate these stories.
It was a fake gossip mag. It was a fan fiction gossip magazine.
It was like, I mean, it was frequently like over 10 pages long, and every page was very fleshed out. Like she had drawn like great details. Like she would she had stories about like I'm just kind of like I think I'd be fabricating the stories at this point, but
Corey
like
Haim,
Corey Feldman, like Blossom, Mayim Bialik, like who's dating who. Then there'd be like advertisements, like fake advertisements that she would have of like, I don't know, Corey Feldman selling something to you, like whatever it was.
well drawn.
Well drawn. So this is before she started I guess she was just a roller derbying scientist at that time. To me.
Well, she moved away and joined the roller derby. That was like the first thing that happened.
And stopped like, okay, so from my point of view, like where the reason this whole thing became an anomaly for me is, well, first of all, I guess she would go on to prefer the company of women frequently after our relationship, I guess.
Yeah.
And then became a roller derby girl, which like in itself carries like some stereotypes. I think I knew that she didn't always shave her armpits, but that was not when we were together. Okay. That's a different time. So I don't want to, and she would, when I was still on social media, she would post pictures, on Instagram of herself, like in science garb, like playing with science things, right? So here I thought like that this was like, like one of my first girlfriends, that she was this like badass at Harvard. Yeah, Harvard. So I would leave out the lesbian part frequently because I didn't want to like whatever, but she was this like badass rollerblading scientist who was then like, eventually she went on to like build her own fucking tiny house. Like she became this like mythical thing that I'd built her up into, right? Well, it's only like, the facts got in the way from. But so until then, I would frequently I would use her as like the pedestal, and I would like mention her to girlfriends, like this is like letting them like indirectly letting them know like this is what you should aspire for. Like shoot for the stars, become a lesbian rollerblading scientist today at Harvard. But I just wanted them to know like this is the kind of people I would spend my time with. Lesbian roller or not lesbian, I'm sorry. It's rollerblading like Harvard scientists, right?
It is
roller derby Harvard scientists.
In some ways it's like unfair because it does raise the question of like, well, if that's what you like, why are you with me?
I mean
but in other ways it's totally fair to be like, listen, I'm used to pretty fucking exceptional people, so I'm not going to be very patient with you being an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would come out and be so blunt, but certainly I would drop hints. I'm not sure if it's better to have been blunt in those situations now.
Probably blunt.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, probably blunt. Just,
because then it would seem so like something else is going on, I guess, potentially.
I've painted a picture more than once, not necessarily referencing like exes or anything like that, but certainly been like, listen, I've been surrounded by some pretty impressive people that I don't need to lower my standards, so you're either gonna fucking act like a grown up or we're not gonna do this. Like I've certainly had that conversation with more than one person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really hang out with like I don't know. I'm not really sure what the word I'm looking for is. I don't really hang out with like people that don't interest me or bring something to the table.
Yes.
Something to the table. I don't know, whatever it might be. Yeah, I feel like there's not enough time in the day for that shit.
You don't spend a lot of your time with run of the mill suburbanites.
That's a fair assessment. Sure.
Yeah.
At least I like to think so. So I had like, I guess, over the years, she almost became this like mythical creature for me. Like, I think I remember now saying this last time, so I might as well throw it in there, that at one point I had thought she was like the one that got away. Like when I thought she was a scientist at Harvard who was
you
like,
speak about her in that,
who was like rollerblading around, like elbowing people in the face and shit. Well, because most people actually, like most other relationships, I realize this now, like had a real chance to let me down as human beings. Like they eventually got to a place where they genuinely let me down. And we were like way too young for that shit to be a thing. So there was never like a real adult way that she could hurt me, I guess. That was the thing.
Yeah, okay. All right. That makes sense.
That's like, I realized this because I haven't like talked to therapists, but I've thought about it for a while. But yeah, so my mind got like my whole fucking system got blown up a little bit when I don't know what we were talking about at the time, but you let me know
We were talking about her.
we were talking about her, but you let me know that in fact she was not maybe a Harvard scientist.
Was she just worked at Harvard?
Well, okay, so this sounds. I don't want it to suddenly take a turn where we're like attacking her or anything because
No, we're not attacking her. Because she didn't present herself as a scientist.
no, she never. Well, sometimes in the picture she would. I think she would like
Yeah, but like this is the same person who made up entire magazines
exactly.
about.
Yes, so yes, you're
So
absolutely
like
right.
it wasn't presented that she was a scientist. Like
I just didn't.
I don't think she expected you to believe she was a scientist.
No, I don't think she was advertising herself as a scientist to
any
me.
more than she expected you to believe that was actually Corey Haim in those pictures that she drew.
Well, sure, I knew she drew the pictures, obviously, but like, no, I get that. I fully get that. Like,
You didn't understand.
no, I did.
Drawing.
I did understand.
You're doing it again. I know that you understood that. I'm saying that her taking pictures in a lab coat, holding like a beaker with like some chemicals in it, was tongue in cheek.
Well, see, I get that now. Like, but you know, this is why I don't do social media anymore because I get these. Everybody's putting on their fucking best things, right? And I believe all their bullshit. And you know, there I am, like feeling like an asshole, believing everybody's a Harvard scientist or fucking the president.
In that time period, I had run some restaurants in Boston, so therefore, I actually hung out with her semi-regularly, you know, like I would see her maybe like once a month, every other month for like a little while, for like a good year or so. And like I'd just be like, oh, I'm coming up for work this weekend. And sometimes we meet up, sometimes we wouldn't. And you know, she was dating some dude and we'd like hang out and grab a bite or whatever, like all three of us. But she worked at Harvard in the science department as like an administrative assistant. So basically she just like worked for the school, like filing paperwork, and like, you know, the office was outside of the lab. So she would walk in and take pictures after hours.
Well, you know, fuck the internet then,
But
I guess.
So she wasn't really a scientist, just a lesbian.
Yeah, I guess.
But you can maintain that she was in the bar setting example.
We had really only so we had spoken a couple times like since we were like fucking in high school and dating and stuff, right? And one of the most recent times, of course, resulted in me getting added to her like subscriber list for Teen Bop or whatever. Right. But like we talked for like, I don't know, like a half an hour to an hour one day, and then like maybe through fucking whatever instant messenger thing, but I haven't even been on social media in like fucking 8 years at this point. Right. So I don't even know when that was, like a decade ago.
Yeah.
But still, I found nobody I've
it was like 2017 last time I saw her.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, throughout my 20s and 30s, I struggled to find any like really remarkable people. So
yeah, I would agree with that.
So yeah, I mean, I would just like mention the fact that I dated this like girl who was now like working at Harvard and like is in the roller derby and like beats the shit out of people, and like kind of like put that as the gauntlet, I guess. And I do think that at least one person has said something about it to me, like, but yeah, then I found out and my world got just mildly shattered. I got brought back down to reality when I realized I was unnecessarily torturing these girls by holding them to this like ridiculous standard that wasn't really like real. Of course, it was like, it was like the internet and whatever. And the fact that I just wasn't communicating with her and I was looking at like the ridiculous pictures she was posting. So I gave probably like a couple girls like some kind of an inferiority complex along the way.
Yeah, I mean,
you're not a lesbian rollerblading scientist.
She's still
roller derby scientist.
A fairly interesting. I mean,
She-
not
yeah,
fairly.
she's-
I
yeah, she's
wouldn't even
very-
say fairly.
she-
She's an incredibly interesting person.
She built her own house. Like,
Yeah.
that's the last thing I knew she was doing.
Yeah.
She's a very interesting person.
I don't think she's the type of person that any normal person could maintain a relationship with, though. Like, just first
no,
of all,
I don't-
just like, how could you keep up?
Yeah.
You know, like, she's just off.
I also realize now that I should have known better that I don't think she was ever really that career driven kind of person. Like she didn't really want to be like aspire to be like the best of the best. Like, I think it was more about like living life, kind of like doing the shit, right?
Yeah.
Than it was like about, putting in 15 years to get a doctorate or some shit.
Yeah.
To go look at science.
She was
science
never,
files.
and she could have, because she's
Sure, she could have,
brilliant.
yeah.
But like, I mean, listen, if you told me, like, if I hadn't kept some sort of in touch with her over the past however 20 or whatever, however many years, and you came back to me and told me like, dude, she's a scientist, I'd believe it.
Yeah, me
because
too.
she's
Me too.
fucking brilliant.
Well, that's why okay, so first of all, so when her and I dated, like, I believe her sister, while we were dating, like, left to go to school. And I remember her going to school in Boston.
Her sister was her if she was a normal person.
I never see, like, she like went away to Harvard or some fucking place like that up there while we were together. So it just it fully like lended itself to this whole idea that I really thought she was a fucking genius, and instead she's just like a regular person like you and I or whatever that didn't want to fucking get a doctorate and just wants to beat people up and take goofy pictures or whatever. No,
she's definitely like way more interesting than a normal person. But like, I don't think, like, so now she lives, I did talk to her recently, actually.
Oh yeah.
Come to think of it. So the last time I like talked to her for a little while, she actually called me out of nowhere to tell me that someone that we both know had died.
Oh.
And
is this the thing that we went to?
The funeral that we went to,
Okay.
yeah. And so I spoke to her then, and then somehow we always like just wind up talking to each other out of the blue when it happens, and it's like for a half hour, and then we don't talk for like 3 years. But we ended up talking, and she's splitting her time between like very northern New England and like the Southwest. And she's like, I travel back and forth, and I had to look up this term, and this was when I was like, ugh. Like, she travels back and forth between like a girl she's involved with and her, what she referred to as platonic life partner, which just means dude I share rent with and sleep with, but I can go hook up with other people and they're not going to say shit. It's like, so like some fucker I'm cuckolding. And like, that's what it means. And
at least she's classy about it.
Yeah, it's really like a polite way to say like I take advantage of this dude. It's really, listen, I'm not trying to badmouth her. I love her dearly, but this is the thing. Like, and I just got to be honest about it. If I had not been friends with this person since I was a child, I can't imagine I would like them at all now, based on how they present on the surface, right?
Okay.
Like, that doesn't mean that they don't have better qualities about them, but like I said, like nobody could date her. Like, you can't keep up. Like, she wants too much too fast, and not in this like gold digger, I should have a house in the hills, you should pay my bills and buy me fancy cars kind of fucking way. Not like she wants too much like that, but like there is not a limit to the amount of life she wants to experience. And like the reason I don't have an issue with it with her is because it's fucking real. It's not like, it is who she is. It's not some shit that she's seen on fucking TikTok that said this is how, someone should live their life and fuck the patriarchy. And she was like, yeah, and just did it. It's like she's where that thought process originates from. Like, you could disagree with it, and I do, but she's not putting it out there because she's full of shit or because she can't think for herself. She believes it. I don't agree with it, but I know it's fucking genuine, as opposed to most people I know who think along those lines, who don't think along those lines. They just say they do because they want to think that there's someone who is like admirable the way she's an admirable person. So they fake it because they're looking at someone like her who's saying those things and they're like, yeah, I'm like that. And they're not.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I meant when I said I should have realized
An exceptional person.
Yeah,
you could be exceptional even if like I disagree with your thoughts about life.
Yeah. Like when I was saying, I should have realized that she wouldn't have like settled down for like a 15-year or 12-year whatever degree or some shit. Like that's what I meant. Like,
or a relationship.
She just wants to go out and experience everything like all at once or whatever.
Yeah.
I was thinking like, I might have to get her address from you and like transcribe this tape onto like cassette, like a little cassette tape, and then send it in the mail to her, like as a payback to like. Well, I don't know. I guess maybe there's also, as long as we ended in a loving place.
Yeah,
which is all where it came from.
Definitely
anyway.
Comes from a loving place. Yeah, I don't know. Like she is. There's nothing disingenuous at all.
No, yeah, like so. Yeah, there was like I wasn't really trying to be an asshole when I would like bring her up as like the person or whatever in all these relationships. Right. And I realize now how like, okay, a little crazy that might sound. Like I don't know how I'd feel if she ever does hear this,
maybe
right?
You don't send that because that could come off weird.
Yeah, I don't really know how it'd be interpreted, like, but I guess it just was that she was like, that's what it was. Like she was like the most interesting, like remarkable person that I've dated to date. I don't know. Let's not, whatever. I don't want to, but that's what it is. So then I found out like that she was only like, 80% of that, like interesting, whatever it was that I was thinking, like,
right,
that I had built her up to. And this whole, are you okay?
Yes. Oh. But seats hurting my ass.
And that's how we had episode like 130 or whatever before it got deleted and disappeared into space, which was the first time that we had this conversation.
It makes me kind of wonder, like, going through this.
Now, hold on. Now I'm admitting that this is the second time that we've had this
conversation,
like lengthy conversation about her, and I'm mailing it to her, like out of.
Yeah, you're not mailing.
No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
But it is good subject matter. We do have a podcast.
Sorry, go on.
It does make me wonder if, like, that whole concept of like the one that got away, like, is that real, or is that like? This is like not applying to like you or me in particular, but just like in general, like, is that real, or is that like, is that just like the encounter that you've had with someone who is like maybe not outside of the norm, but like an exceptional person, someone who's more interesting, someone who's got more life in them, someone who's like got more going on or feels a little more advanced. Like, is that really like when people talk about like the one that got away, is it the one who got away, or is it just an encounter that they've had with someone who's like, we keep using this term, but it's probably the appropriate one, like exceptional person, right? And if that's the case, because that would make sense, right? Like that you measure, like there was somebody that has been part of your life in an important way for whatever length of time that just exceeded your expectations of what like most people, and even if they didn't like exceed your expectations, but certainly like either met your expectations, but like surpassed what's the word I'm looking for? Surpassed where other people are in life, whether it's from a personality perspective or like what they're involved in or like whatever, like they're above average, right? Yeah. They're exceptional. And that it would make sense that you would look at that person and like other people who you become involved with, regardless of how much you care about them, kind of like pale in comparison to them as an individual, right? Like, so if that's the case, are they the one? Because like the one that got away, I'm doing air quotes again, is probably like someone of that stature in someone else's life, no matter what. If they're really an exceptional person, this is here's the mind fuck. This is not going to feel good.
Do you think she has a lot of like people that are like?
How many people look at that person?
I'm just another sap, is what you're saying?
As the one. Well, not. I'm not like singling
when I
you
send
out.
this cassette tape, she'll just throw it in the box with all the other cassette tapes that she has. Like, oh, Jason, 16.
So.
Thanks, dickhead.
That's what I said. I was like, this is not going to feel good. but I'm not attacking you because I've been in the same fucking boat, and everybody has, right?
Sure.
Like when you think about the one that got away, how many people do you think also think of that same person?
Are you really asking me the question?
As the one that got away? No, like hypothetically, right? Like, well, yes, like I'm asking it. Not rhetorically, I guess, but like in general, like not necessarily about you.
Do you want me to like say a number?
Well, no, I'm not like asking for like a count, but
Probably
like realistically, like
probably more than a handful.
Probably a lot,
Yeah,
right?
more than a handful, I'm sure.
Like there's certainly been someone in my experience that stood to be someone who came across as more remarkable than other people, and like I would imagine that the person that dated that person after me, and probably the person that dated person before me, and probably the next person that they dated, that they broke up with until they found the person that they wanted to settle down with, probably all look at that person as like the one that got away. But it's like they're not the one that got away, they're the one that you couldn't hold on to, because no one could hold on to them.
Well, so a couple of things. Like, I was just very much in high school. I was in like sophomore year.
This isn't a criticism of you. No. This is just like a general thought.
No, so I have a response to it, I guess. So assuming that like that's what I'm talking about, right? Like I'm holding her to that standard.
Sure.
We were like 16 or 17, like 16 or something when we dated. So she set herself up at that point. Like she started early collecting those like cassette tapes, you know, like, so probably like a dozen or so, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I hear what you're saying. It's like it's like dating, like, I don't know, like Brad Pitt versus like some guy that's like a fucking dental hygiene assistant or something.
Exceptional people draw the admiration of everyone around them.
Yeah, well, because they just have a lot of it's like it's bravado, it's like, or it's just confidence or whatever it might be.
Yeah, they're
like,
just provocative. They're just
Sure.
provocative people.
Yeah,
they just elicit people going, "Oh fuck!" Like,
yeah.
What's their deal? And they tend to be people that like not a lot of people say bad things about, and when they do, it's like blatantly obvious jealousy, you know? Like,
so yeah. So like on what you're saying, I think I realized now, I talked it out myself in I think a lot of it really is the fact that we were so young that we didn't she never really had a chance to hurt me like the way adults hurt each other. Like it just gets a little bit more real as you get older, I guess, you know? And so like every other relationship that I had had ended not great. Like they just didn't end like amicably, where people are walking away loving and handshaking and, you know, kisses and I'll see you next time, you know, like there's bad blood or there's whatever it is, like for whatever reason. And that, like, I guess is like the one where there wasn't, I suppose.
See, that's
me. Sorry.
That's fucking. It's interesting that you say that, because so like I've had relationships, and most relationships don't end well, right? Otherwise they wouldn't end.
Exactly.
You know, like that's
there. Exactly.
Yeah, but there is a difference between like between something that doesn't end well because like you've just had enough of each other's shit and like bad breakups.
Yeah.
Right. Those are very different fucking things. Like, no, really, like, can you really be like, that relationship ended well? Like, no, like, none of them do.
Yeah.
I think I can reasonably say that the person who and I haven't looked at them in that light for a long time because, you know, I've been married twice since then. But like the one person who I would have looked at as the one who, like, in that light, like maybe not like the one who got away, but certainly like the person who everyone else gets measured against, was definitely the one that I could say ended well. Ended really well.
Yeah.
Like in this place where it was like we both were like we like had this like completely candid, open conversation saying like we don't want to lose each other, we're so important to each other, blah blah blah. You know, it's going like the world is going to just look fucking weird knowing that we're not the other person the other one leans on, but this has run its course and we have to fucking let it go now. Which was like, you know, like a terrible fucking conversation, like a very mature conversation, especially at that age, because we were like 22-ish, 24-ish.
Yeah.
But it ended, like, all things considered, it ended really well. And almost the fact that it ended well made it harder.
Yeah.
Because,
sure.
like, that mutual respect of, like, oh, I don't hate you. Like, it's so easy.
Especially when every other relationship ends so poorly. You're like, so I think that I use the phrase, like, the one that got away, because it's like, there's this whole idea, right? Like, it's a very well-known idea. And that's what it is. It's like, that's what it is, really.
Right.
I don't really think that was the case, like, because, you know, like, that's a long time ago at this point. But for a while, when I was younger, probably, like, whatever, I'm sure it was a little bit more of a thing. But certainly everything that I've said today was, like, true, in that that all of these people were, like, for a while, like, held to this unrealistic, like, roller derby standard.
It's so fucking easy, though, to look at somebody who you're pissed off about and be like, fuck them.
Yeah.
And like, and you're not hurt. You're angry. It's different. People are like, oh, anger just covers up hurt. Sometimes it fucking doesn't. Sometimes you think someone else is a piece of shit and fuck them.
Yeah.
And like, I've certainly felt that more than once. But yeah, the ones that like end maturely, they're the ones that suck. The ones that end terribly, it's like, eh.
Yeah, because it's,
yeah, they were like, you see like that they were an asshole anyway, so who fucking cares?
like when you wake up the next day, it feels like this like sense of relief or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Like ending it amicably is like
Is harder.
Yeah.
It's more difficult on the fucking on the emotions.
Yeah, I think you're more likely to get like booty calls and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah. But it's like, I never thought about that until this conversation, that like maybe the one that you're like, oh, that's the one that got away. They're just somebody who like everybody's impressed by. So anyone who's ever fucking laid eyes on them thinks that they're the one that fucking got away.
Well, I think I guess that's the whole point of this story, actually, is that like, that that's more what it is than what I was like, what I was like imagining, what I was like doing in my head, you know, was different than like the reality of everything.
Right, because you thought she was a scientist. She was, in fact, not.
But, you know, she had some good photos.
Some good photos?
Of like doing
like
sciencey things.
Doing sciencey things. Yeah, that is.
Now that I think about it, they were all like posted at like 6:15 p.m. like after the office had clearly
yeah,
closed.
Everybody in the lab fucking went home.
And she's there like playing with their shit.
That's fucking.
She fucking got me, man.
Yeah, this is a conversation that I'm glad we fucking went back to.
I'm gonna get a what's it, a DAT machine or some shit that like lets you record digital audio
tape
to
cassette,
magnetic cassette tape.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get a DAT.
Dude,
maybe
you could get a 4-track and like a reel to reel and send it to her, and I'm sure she'd dig up the fucking machine because she probably has it somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, or knows someone who has it, or she'll build one by fucking hand. Like she'll build a phonograph and fucking listen to it. She's just that kind of person.
Yeah. Which is why this whole conversation started to begin with.
Yeah.
Fucking interesting people are interesting.
Interesting people are interesting. That's a true statement, I guess. So in other human phenomenon, I have
Did you say human phenomenon?
human phenomenon. So this has been sitting on there for a while, but so this is going back now because it's honestly just been like sitting there. But do you ever just like get to a point in let me try to give like appropriate context because I don't remember the context that I wrote this down in, so it makes it difficult. Do you ever get to a point where like you're picking your battles? Put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, so people tell you like, you know, oh, you should, you know, especially in a relationship, you should pick your battles. Everything isn't worth fighting over. And like, I actually have a hard time believing that.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
Like,
either.
I don't believe it. I don't think you pick your battles. I think you fight every battle.
Yeah. I like to play devil's advocate to you, but fuck that. Like, of course, I'm not going to purposely lose battles for no reason. It's fucking bullshit.
Right.
That's what fucking losers do.
Fucking thank you. Holy shit, thank you.
It's like, this might be the one thing for the first thing to universally agree on.
So that's what losers do. I fucking love it. It's completely fucking true.
Yeah.
Like, it's not pick your battles. Not every battle is worth it. Every battle is worth it.
Yeah.
And the reason,
I'm not gonna walk around feeling like a fucking loser.
Dude, I think it goes deeper than that. It's like,
Does it?
Yeah, no, I do. I think it does. I think it's like, it's setting a fucking standard for the way that you will allow yourself to be fucking communicated with and what you will and will not fucking put up with. So maybe it is that. Maybe it's like, I'm not going to feel like a fucking loser, but like I get into this thing where it's like, you know, one of the things that everyone has had said to them at some point, especially with someone that they've argued with quite a bit, but people are like, you always think you're right. And it's like, yeah, I don't assume I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Why would I start talking if I assumed I was wrong? Like, of course I think I'm right. Mm-hmm. Otherwise I would shut the fuck up because I don't know what I'm saying. Like, as recently, so like, I don't remember what we were talking about, but we were talking about something like a week ago, and I'm downstairs and Allegra and I are like going back and forth about this conversation. And she's like, well, do you think this? And I was like, well, let me preface this statement by acknowledging that I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, but I'm going to guess that it's this based on, but this is like all conjecture and opinion. Mm-hmm. I have no idea what the fuck I'm saying. Like, and she laughed as I said it. And I was like, why was that funny? She's like, let me preface this by saying I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I was like, well, I'm not going to be cocky when I don't know the fucking information. Like, you're always telling me I always think I'm right. And I'm always like, yeah, like fucking, you also always think you're right. If you didn't always think you were right and I didn't always think we were right, we wouldn't be fucking arguing.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this. How many debates have you been to where one of the debate teams was like, you know what? We'll just let you take this one. Like, we have no response, no rebuttal. Like, that's not a fucking thing, man.
It's not a thing. So I am careful to articulate when I'm like, I have like a hypothesis, but I'm not informed enough to actually like have a fucking theory on whatever if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, but like circling back to like not picking your battles, I think it's really dumb to be like, I'm going to pick my battles.
Well, that's when people, no offense, this is when people get like fat, they get out of shape, they stop loving each other, they're miserable in their lives because they've become complacent or they allow themselves to be like make so many concessions that they're just fucking miserable assholes. That's what I.
Yeah, you might be
that's what I
right.
think.
You might be right about that. Well, I kind of look at it from the perspective of like, if I know what I'm talking about, and so let me backtrack a little bit. So everyone has had someone say to them like, "Oh, you always think you're right," and it's like, well, yeah, fucking obviously, but fuck. But like, if I'm having an argument, I don't care about winning or losing the argument at all. I don't care.
You're just there to fight. I'm just here to argue.
No, it's not that. So it's almost tricky to say this, but it's like, it's not that I want to be right. It's that I want to be correct.
Can you
I want to have the right information. Like, I'm not going to argue with you because I think you're wrong and I want you to see that I'm right. I'm going to argue with you because I think you're wrong and I want you to move forward in life with the right information so you make better decisions based on the information you have. Likewise, if we're in an argument and you convince me that I'm wrong, or even better, prove that I'm wrong, I'm not going to be upset about it. And I've also heard people say things that I don't buy at all, where they're like, yeah, well, you know, if we're arguing about something and I'm wrong, then I'm glad I'm wrong because you've made me a better person for it. And I'm like, no, you fucking dickhead. That's not what it is. Like, don't be egotistical in your fucking loss. It's like, oh, I'm wrong. Cool.
Yeah.
Now I know the thing that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like, if there's some sort of decision I have to make based on the information I have, or even if it just comes up in conversation, now I won't sound dumb next time by putting forth asinine information as if it's fucking fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now so like, that's what I mean. It's about being correct, not about being right. It's not about like being, because like you could argue morals all day, right? Like I can fucking say like, I think this, and you could be like, well, I think that. And we go back and forth and no one's really, there's no definitive, right? There's no definitive about an opinion, but when it's about something factual, it's not about what's right or who's right. It's about who's correct. And I don't care if I'm incorrect, because when I learn that I'm incorrect, I will be correct moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. So the other thing when it comes to like, you know, picking your battles is like, here's something that happened a couple months back when I was like, fuck it. I'm not going to fight about this one. I don't have the energy to fight about this one. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, it was something that wasn't terribly important. So if something's important to me, I'm going to fight about it. Like, period.
Even if it's... Okay, this is going to sound...
Go ahead.
It's going to sound really petty. Even if it's not, right? Like, let's just say it's something stupid. Like, you tell me the fucking whatever, like the sky is purple, right? Just something really innocuous, right? Sure. And then the next time we're just having a casual conversation, and I let that one slide, right? I let it slide. I'm like, I'm gonna pick my battle. I'm not gonna argue with you that the fucking sky is purple. Next time when you say the sky is purple, it's gonna fucking make me furious that you're telling me the same bullshit again, and I didn't correct you the fucking first time. So I will, from the get-go, I'll tell you, it's about setting like the standard of what it is how you expect things to be in life. Like, that's what it is, really.
Right.
It's setting a fucking standard, man.
Yes, it's setting a fucking standard. It is also not tolerating fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
When somebody's talking the fuck down to you in a conversation where you have the fucking facts straight, and they're just shoving bullshit at you.
You're not gonna...
It's like, I'm not gonna sit back and be fucking talked dead, because now I'm setting the standard that it's okay for you to talk to me like I'm fucking dumb.
Yeah, you're not going to sit here and tell me the fucking sky is purple every day. Like, right. Motherfucker, I know it's blue. Like, you're not going to do that.
So going back a couple months, one day I was just like, you know what? Maybe I'll pick my fucking battles this time. And it immediately bit me in the ass and let me fucking explain how this happened. So we're having some argument. I don't know what the fuck it was about. It clearly was something that was not important enough for me to fucking, I don't remember the context of it, but I do kind of like have this vague memory of me being like, you know what? It doesn't matter. This is going to be one of those arguments where I say this, you say that, and in the end, nothing about what we're arguing is going to change. The next time this situation comes up, we're going to, in execution, it's going to be exactly the same way as I'm saying it is, because that's the way it is all the time, because that's the way the universe fucking works. Like, not because I know more than you, but because don't think I can alter reality to my fucking wishes. So this is what's going to happen. So, you know what? I don't fucking care. Like, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I got other shit fucking going on. I don't need to deal with this. Keep squawking. I don't give a fuck. So I just turned it off. And like, I really think it was more like exhaustion that I'm going to pick my battles, if I'm being fucking honest. Like, I was just like, it's like, whatever, fucking, I don't care. You're wrong. It's not going to affect my life. You're going to look dumb the next time you try to do this, and I don't care. And what happens is like, we're going on. And I think I may be remembering this incorrectly, but I believe what happened was I was just like, all right, like, I'm going to go take a fucking shower or like whatever. So I go do that. I come back and like we go back into the conversation, and it's so blah, 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 blah. Like, essentially like, so next time we're going to do it my way. And I was like, no. And she's like, what? I'm like, no. And she's like, what do you mean no? I'm like, well, no. Like, I heard what you said, but what you said was still wrong. So what we're going to do is what we've always done, because that's the only way it can be done. And then I'm hit with, I thought we were having a productive conversation. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, I was, telling you how I felt about this, and like, you were agreeing. I was like, I wasn't agreeing, but you weren't arguing with me. Oh, so you think that not arguing equals agreeing. So when you say pick your battles, what you're really saying is give in and pretend I'm wrong sometimes so that I can elevate your self-esteem. That's what you mean by picking your battles. Yeah, I'm not going to do that ever again, because apparently, and I said, I was like, I just wasn't arguing. Well, that's because I thought you were agreeing. No, you told me to pick my battles. I know you've said to me, if I'm wrong, who cares? Let me be wrong. I'll find out on my own. I don't need you to argue with me about me being wrong. Great. So in this situation, you're wrong. So I didn't argue with you about it. You'll find out on your own when you go to do the thing that we're arguing about. So I let it go, like I was asked. But you spun that into, because I wasn't arguing, I was agreeing, and you were right, and you felt like you were winning a fight. But really, we weren't having a fight because I wasn't participating. Mm-hmm. So what you've just explained to me is, unless I argue about every single thing that I think you're wrong about, you start developing this complex where you think you're right about things that you might not know what the fuck you're talking about. And that's going to get you in a lot of trouble if I'm not around to save your ass when you do something stupid. So I'm never going to pick my battles ever again. I'm going to fight about every little fucking piece of bullshit, because my theory that it's never worth it to pick your battles and shut up when you know you're right, you've just proven everything about it correct. Which is the goal, to be correct. So now I know never to shut the fuck up. And that's my story.
Yeah. I just don't like listening to people that don't know what they're talking about talk to me about things they don't know what they're
don't.
talking about.
Especially if you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's really hard for me to like sit there and just accept incorrect information given to me, or like to accept something I don't agree with, like being said like over and over and over again, right?
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't know, I thought it was a character, like not a flaw, but like a character trait, you know, that
I
had.
don't think it's a character flaw. I think it's a remarkable quality.
Yeah.
To always be willing to fight to the death.
Sure. I mean, like, you know, someone's got to do it, right?
Someone's got to fucking do
Like, not
it.
gonna have a bunch of fucking passive assholes sitting around here leading the world.
Somebody's got to let stupid people know that it's time to shut the fuck up. You know, someone's got to remind people that they're not as smart as they fucking think they are.
Next time somebody walks into me in the grocery store and is like, blah, 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 you're wrong, I'm just gonna fucking spout off onto them. Or if I hear them, just spout the fuck off.
You know what's even worse is like when you can just tell someone else is an idiot. It's almost worse.
Yeah.
Where like you know that you don't know anything about what they're talking about, but you can tell that they're full of shit anyway. That's the fucking worst, because like, you know, it's like a gut instinct when you're like, oh, you're dumb. Like, it's just like, you know that the person you're talking to is full of shit and dumb, but you're not knowledgeable in what they're talking about. So you really don't have a choice because you can't make a counter argument. But it's just that burning, like, that burning recognition of when you're talking to a fucking idiot. And you can't really do anything about it. And those ones you kind of have to let go because you can't counterpoint. But like, that to me is the most infuriating thing that you can fucking deal with.
I realized somewhere along the way that I frequently feel like to myself, like I don't really go about like you know, bragging about this fact, but I frequently feel like the smartest man in the room, in most rooms, right? So when I look around and I see like most people, I'm like, fucking idiots.
That is the most relatable thing that you've ever said in 30 some years of knowing each other. Yeah, no, it's not that I don't think that I'm the smartest person in every room per se. Yes, I do. I don't.
It's not often that I don't think that way. I mean, like for better or worse.
I'm not necessarily the most knowledgeable person in any room.
Yeah.
But I'm always the most aware person. I'm always more acutely aware of someone else being even a little bit full of shit than I think anyone who surrounds me. It's not that I think that I'm fucking smarter than everyone else as much as it's like, I think my fucking detector for bullshit is like so much more sensitive than anyone else's that I'm just not buying anything that isn't completely buttoned up that someone else has said.
Is that your emotional intelligence, right? Kind of.
Maybe
It's like the ability to read people, right? Like
I don't know. I might be wrong about this, but I tend to think of emotional intelligence as like your ability to relate to other people on an emotional level, not necessarily like connecting with their emotions, but understanding what their emotional state is and deciding how to best communicate to them because of it.
Like,
I could be wrong. That's how I've always
empathy and
understood
shit?
it. Not empathy as much as like, hey, this is what you're going through, so this is how I communicate to you based on what your state of mind is, so that you get the message I'm trying to give you, as opposed to empathy, which is like, I feel for you.
Yeah, I got you.
Or I feel with you.
Yeah.
You know, sympathy is like, I feel bad for you, and empathy is like, I feel bad with you.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I think sympathy to me, and probably just to me, sympathy is like what you feel for anyone as like a person, and empathy is for what you feel for people that you actually care about.
Like when it hits close to home, sure.
Or you know, like not even necessarily that. Like, you know, like
You don't think like a hate crime or like a religious crime or some shit like that? that those people are like have like a like because they're connected on
I
some
don't
level.
know.
Some
I
level,
don't know.
right?
Well, I would say like, so if my neighbor told me that their dog died,
I wouldn't give a fuck.
I would, but
Like, oh,
I'd feel
that's-
sympathy.
Like I feel bad for them.
I'd feel bad for them because I could relate to the position that are in. But if you told me your dog died, I'd feel actually bad.
Yeah.
You know, because like we're close. Like
Yeah.
that's, to me, that's the difference.
Yeah. Sure.
I'm probably wrong.
Well, I haven't
But
had a
that's
dog
how
in a
I've
while.
always like, but like the example, like
Yeah.
that's how I've always like understood it.
I got you.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, so I don't know if the bullshit detector is an emotional intelligence, but like I've always had that. Like, even since being a little kid, like I just remember being able to like pick up on adults lying to me and calling them out on it and watching them get fucking furious. And like, I learned so quickly that the more mad that someone gets when you address the fact that you don't think they're being honest, the less likely it is they're being honest. You know, it's like, it's always like where the anger is directed, like to me, is always the giveaway. Like, if I'm like, dude, you're full of shit, and like, you're mad in general that you're being told you're full of shit, but you believe what you say, that's frustration that you might be wrong. But that doesn't mean you're full of shit. That doesn't mean you're trying to convince someone else of bullshit. But if I'm like, yeah, you're full of shit and you're mad at me for saying it, that to me is the sign that you're aware you're lying.
Yeah.
You know? Or
It's
like
guilt or just like I guess the desire to cover up to move on from
to cover up your
your lie or whatever it is,
yeah,
yeah.
that's like covering up
Give
the
credence
like
to
using the anger to fucking cover up the fact that you're being dishonest. Or like fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? It's gonna fucking bug me. Like resentment. Like if you do something, like when I've just almost always found that like when someone is resentful towards somebody else, it's because they did the wrong thing.
The resentful person
The resentful person
did the wrong thing.
Yeah, like if you did something fucked up to me, I'd be mad. If I did something fucked up to you unintentionally, I would be regretful. But if I did something fucked up to you intentionally, I would be resentful. Like I would hold it against you that I did something fucked up to you.
Yeah, because
Like-
it makes you feel like better, I guess, right?
Or
In some way.
worse, like I think that like to me, like that's like whenever I pick up that somebody is like acting in a resentful way, I'm like undue anger is always the fucking sign that someone is like doing something wrong or intends to do something wrong or even thought about doing something wrong.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like, oh, you dislike me for no reason?
Yeah, it's
Right
like starting
now?
a fight for no reason.
Right.
Usually it's because something. Yeah, there's
It's because of something.
Yeah,
There's
sure.
something there. Like, oh, you get in a room with somebody, you're talking to them, and like they openly, or like maybe not openly, like they express it, but their behavior shows that like they have a dislike towards you, and there's not something that predicated it. The only thing that predicates it is like, oh, you're doing something wrong. You know, like
Yeah,
to
pretty
me,
much.
that's like just it's just such an easy fucking read.
I feel like even when I was a little kid, like I've always had this like before I really knew what it was, I guess I had this like emotional intelligence or whatever.
Yeah.
Like just the ability to like I think some of it is that I analyze and overanalyze certain interactions with people. So maybe it's
Yeah.
that, but I also just have like a really good like means about myself to read people, to like read them from a mile away and like take in more than most people do from like body language or whatever it might be. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of like tonal inflections,
Eye
like,
contact, tone of voice.
yeah, there's so
fucking-
many fucking indicators for it. Like, and if you just pay a little bit of attention to anybody,
A little bit.
right? Like a little bit,
A
and to anybody,
little bit.
to anybody in your life, like you can actually start to acquire. It's like a skill, you know.
You could talk to somebody for fucking 10 minutes and just know them inside and out. 10 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
Like that's all it
Like
takes.
the way they respond to certain questions or anything. Sure.
There has been so many times, especially over the past couple of years, where I've like pointed out like things about relationships that other people have had. I don't know why I'm dancing around because everybody knows what the fuck I'm saying. But like, you know, where I've been like, I don't think this person is really your friend. No, you don't know. You're being judgmental. No, like all the context clues line up. Like, why would they be friends with you? Like, not like you're not worth being friends with, but like the friendship doesn't make sense, and certain things that they say and certain ways that they carry, like they're not really your friend. You know, yes they are. Lo and behold, boom, like you get fucked over by that person, or like there's been a couple of those where I'm like, I don't think this person who you think is your friend really likes you. Like there's been a handful of those, and like I've been right every fucking time. And it's just so easy to like, it's inflection, it's tone of voice, it's facial expression, it's like what kind of eye contact you're making, if at all. Are you looking like at me? Are you looking past me? Are you like shifting your eyes like down into the right? Like it's all dumb shit like that, but it's like just so telling. You know, it's even like tone of voice on a speakerphone call that you're hearing from another room, and you're like, this person doesn't want to be talking to you right now. Like, why are you pursuing this fucking friendship? It's just like such obvious shit, like so painfully fucking obvious. But all right, we're an hour and 10 in. Do we want to call this one?
I guess we missed the post.
Yeah, that's all right.
Post.
We can go. We went like 10 minutes short on the last one, so we go 10 minutes long on this one. But
you're welcome, internet.
Maybe we can fucking do the next one from the new studio.
What?
Maybe we could do the next one from the new studio.
Oh yeah, shit. Yeah,
we'll have to figure it out.
I didn't mean to sound so ridiculously
completely
surprised. Yeah, I thought there was something I didn't know. I just forgot.
Yeah, no, you did forget that you have a studio now.
Yeah, I do.
All right, well, see you guys next week.
Later.
This is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. That's like, is it?
I was interviewing my father about the way he wipes his ass. That tasted like a can of SpaghettiO sauce.
Yeah, like Chef Boyardee.
Yeah, like Chef Boyardee, exactly.
Yeah,
I wonder if I can find a way to like spray my semen on her face even when I'm not there.
Yeah, it's like a moral fucking dilemma.
It's an AIDS advertisement.
Oh, this is god awful.
Not the moves.